This is part 3 of our playtest of the forthcoming Silt Verses Roleplaying Game. Let's go ahead and do a recap, although there's not a whole lot to recap because you actually solved an assignment last time, and it was the only assignment you were working on, even though you did have another one available. But basically, last time you were able to resolve the Hungering Roots assignment by taking this sort of seedling of the verdant mother, this seedling of the verdant mother god, and planting it and putting it to good use, putting it to good work, the kind of work it was intended to do, not this sort of mass commercial production that these growers in this neighborhood were trying to get it to do. You also managed to get around and circumvent a military plan to use this god, and so that was also a little bonus for the bureau. So that's all sorted. I do want to take a look at the custodians though, and note that Mercer and Sybil are okay as far as conditions go, but Theo and Bastion both have 3. So it's a kind of a swingy thing there, but that's what's going on. And also, at this point, if you haven't done so, please go ahead and pick new end of session questions or leave them as you wish, but you get to choose new ones right now if you want to. If you advanced last time, go ahead and choose an advancement. And taking a look at the verses, everyone is pretty much, the verses are more or less untouched. Bastion and Mercer have both marked a verse of history, but I suspect that's going to ramp up quite a bit as we get going. Now that you all kind of know what's happening and generally how to play, I think things will probably get more challenging. Once everyone's picked their advancements and done everything else they're supposed to do, just let me know.
All set.
All right, great. I think the only character who advanced,
just
Theo
give me a moment. I
advanced.
pick one.
All right, well, it's fine. You just do it whenever you're ready. It's fine.
Okay. Is there, for choose an additional faith sheet move, would we pick this from something that's available, or?
It's the ones like if you scroll down to your if you scroll down to the, or if you scroll up to the part of your where your moves are. Let's see here. Where is that?
It would be row 74.
Yeah, row 74. That little drop down, that's where all the moves are listed. And
I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah, when you highlight one of them, it'll tell you what the text is. So.
Okay.
Theo, it looks like you marked an advancement though. What'd you take?
Yeah. I took the Touched by the Angels. Your exposure to countless gods and their angels gives you a tangible insight into their effects on the body. Add +1 to your communion. You can always discern if an illness was caused by a god or other divine source. The first time you act on that information, roll with advantage.
Okay, great. Love that. Okay, awesome. All right. Then we'll just keep going. Sybil, just whenever you choose your advancement, just let us know at some point.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go with the paper flesh covenant.
Okay, very good.
The waxen scrivener uses you as its own medium for recording knowledge. When you whisper prayers to the waxen scrivener while tattooing a part of your body with your sacred ink, mark ink, and then describe the tattoo. The tattoo is a clue that can be used for the current assignment or a future assignment.
Oh, nice, good. Cool, love that. All right. So at this point, you have one active assignment, which I will present to you again since you haven't worked on it yet. It's kind of like starting it anew. But also, you're aware of another assignment as well. So you have 2 active assignments right now. I'm going to reintroduce the Dusk Mother right now. The custodians are informed of a series of disturbances near the rural town of Weft, located just on the border of the Clutching Woods. Reports of strange attacks on livestock and damage to power lines and vehicles have been documented. Hopworth Industries, a nearby meatpacking plant, claims that some kind of large predator has been raiding their compound at night. Law enforcement records show evidence of a stray angel making its haunt on the grounds of Skelton Ranch, though no conclusive action was taken, and local residents have not been forthcoming with previous investigators. The Skelton family, thought to have abandoned production on their farm years ago, is rumored to harbor an angel which has caused trouble for other residents in the past. According to locals, the Skelton family simply referred to the entity as Mother. It is unclear what their relationship is with the angel, but it has been known to haunt the woods around their property for several generations as part of some pact. Attempts to reach the Skeltons directly were unsuccessful, so the custodians have been directed to contain or eliminate the angel before its territory encroaches on any nearby counties. And then I asked one of you about why the Skelton family, like how the influence of this angel has sort of dug its claws in too deep to the Skeltons, right? And I can't remember who answered it, but the answer was essentially the Skeltons don't leave their ranch, right? Was it Bastion? Yeah. So you have one question here, which is a pretty simple question. It's only complexity 2. Where is the angel's nest located? And then once you know what that is, it unlocks the next question. Now, you have another active assignment that I'm going to introduce right now. If you want to follow along, these are all on the assignments tab of the Character Keeper. The next assignment is called the Floating Market. Fragments of black market divinities have been appearing among the goods sold at the Floating Market, a free-for-all bazaar that gathers at abandoned docks and fishing piers along the White Gull River. While such gatherings generally happen under the radar of local authorities, the custodians have been informed that the goods arriving along the river present an increasing danger to the inland population. The Bureau report flatly states that the nature of the divinely afflicted wares being sold are not something that can be left to the greater Glottage Police to handle alone, given a surge of recent corruption investigations. Now, among you, who do you suppose has had the most run-ins with the authorities up to this point? We can define authority however we wish in this case.
I would say maybe Mercer.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, Mercer or Sybil, I would say, but I'll go for it.
One of the two.
Yeah.
Very well, Mercer.
No. Yeah, it'd be you.
Okay.
Mercer, why do you suspect that no one actually intends to shut down the floating market, but that several groups are vying for control of the market themselves?
I think coming from the river, Mercer has just seen how many fishing boats have their sort of below decks business going, smuggling is all over the place. And I think he understands that communities almost rely on that as a whole other system of distribution for goods, whether it's illegal or otherwise. And so no one really wants to shut that down. That's how people get what they need, whether it's legal or not.
So we have a question here, again, fairly simple, complexity 2. Which illegal product presents the most serious danger to the public? It allows you to learn where to focus the investigation, and then you unlock the remaining questions. So, a couple of threshold questions on these 2 assignments to kind of get you going. They're in 2 different places, which means if you're going to do both assignments, you're going to have to split up, and you'll have to journey to them separately. And we'll talk about journey in a moment. I do want to note that these 2 assignments also have their own verses that can be picked once each to get a bonus on a die roll or to bump up your die roll. For the Dusk Mother, it's called the Verse of the Dreaming Nest. When someone picks it, each custodian recalls a time they insulated themselves from the cruel uncertainties of the outside world and what gave them solace in the darkness. For the Floating Market, it's the Verse of Promised Deliverance. Each custodian recalls an advertisement for a divinely branded product and the benefits it promised that seemed too good to be true. And of course, you always have the Verse of History and the Verse of Prophecy available to you to bump up die rolls. Let's now figure out... Oh, also I want to say, this is very much out of character knowledge, but it's very important player knowledge. You currently have 2 conspiracy clues. Conspiracy clues are kind of a counter, and as it goes up and up, the broader conspiracy, there's an organization that's sort of conspiring and kind of connects up some of these things, that becomes more apparent and becomes more dangerous. But right now it's still just a 2. But those 2 clues were I showed that the group is being followed by some apparatchik of this organization, And also, I showed last time a bunch of trucks driving through the night with things on in the beds of the trucks, like with big, covered in big black tarps. So some strange activity there. At this point, we need to figure out what everybody wants to do. So you can travel to either assignment. You can go alone if nobody else wants to go to that assignment, or you can go with other custodians. The Bureau generally does not recommend custodians travel alone, but you certainly can. There's nothing stopping you from doing it. The way that you clear conditions in this game, or the main way that you clear conditions, is by journeying to places and having the journey move, which we'll talk about. But basically, the journey move is a chance for you and one other custodian to sort of connect on a more personal basis. And you'll have like a little prompt that will sort of inspire the conversation between the two of you. And then if we think some conditions got cleared based off what you describe, you get to clear one of those conditions. And so that's sort of one of the main functions of the journey phase. But also, we want to just sort of see the landscape, see the people, watch these characters traveling to and fro. If you travel alone, you can still clear a condition by doing your personal ritual on the road. So that's another thing you can do. But at this point, I just need to know, what are you all interested in doing right now? Which of these assignments are you going to tackle? Are you going to split up? Are you all going to go to one? What do we think?
To be honest, the floating market sounds pretty cool. I kind of want to go there.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same. It's pretty on brand for me.
I want to deal with Dusk Mother because that can't be left alone for too long.
I think that's probably right.
I'll go with Theo to Dusk Mother.
Mhm.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we can split up.
You can indeed. Now, I will say that Theo and Bastion are the only two custodians with conditions, which is fine because you'll be able to clear. Well, although Theo can't clear them with the journey move, can Theo?
No, I can't.
Yeah. So it doesn't really matter who Theo goes with, I guess. So never mind. I'll just set that aside. I was going to say though that Mercer and Sybil don't have any conditions to clear, but there are still other things you can do on the journey move. So.
Mhm.
Let's talk about the journey phase. Now, I will say for people watching the video as well for you players that this is the last part of the game that Gabriel and I have to finalize. It's not quite 100% yet. We're still sort of figuring out precisely how we want it to work and be presented, but we're going to do our best. That's why we're doing this playtest. So the journey phase, basically the way it works is I'm going to present a journey scene to all of you or to the people who are on that part of the journey. And then we will have a little Gabriel, the scene with the custodians comes next, right? The journey move. It's like present the journey thing and then the custodians and then the prompt.
Then there's like a prompt of like recall a time if you want to
yeah,
kind of prompt the conversation. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so let me take a look at that. I apologize for this. Like I said, we're still working this part out. Let me grab I want to grab the exact text that we have right now to see how it reads presently. Playtests are fun. Okay. So I'll introduce a journey scene, and I think I'm going to introduce two journey scenes because we're going to two different places. So there'll be one that is for Theo and Bastion and one for Mercer and Sybil. The journey scene for Theo and Bastion is the roadside shrine. You've often encountered small shrines in your travels, piles of stones, wreckage, fragments of former lives arranged with intention. They might be memorials, offerings, even traps for unwary travelers, luring them to a hungry god desperate for a scrap of worship. Along this stretch of lonely road, you notice more of them than usual. Now, we will begin. We'll have a little scene between the two of you. And then we will answer a question about the roadside shrines. So I want to read the journey move right now. It says, while traveling to another assignment, when you and another custodian share a scene where one of you talks about your personal history or relationship to divinity, clear an appropriate condition. And if you're not the one whose past is being discussed, you get to stumble on a clue or invite the other player to ask you a question about your character's past. You have to answer truthfully, but not necessarily completely. So we have a little prompt here, inspired at least in part by the idea of roadside shrines. And the prompt is to recall a time. What small act of worship did you perform in a place no one else could see? And so I'm going to frame up the scene with Theo and Bastion. Maybe you've stopped at one of these roadside shrines just to take a break on the road. But role play.
I think Bastion, after, of course, sorry, the HVAC person just arrived the moment we started.
Okay.
Oh,
I
no.
let them in.
We'll just take a quick.
Maybe
we'll take a
Mercer
quick
and Sybil
break.
can swap us out.
Let's just take a
or
quick
something like that.
We'll take a quick 3-minute break.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, so as I was saying off mic, I'm really happy that we did this little break because I have totally rethought how this needs to go. So, we've got it figured out. So here's the deal. I'm going to present the journey scene. We'll then do the prompt, and then we'll do the character scene. I'm going to bounce between them, though. So I'm going to just start this over. Roadside Shrine. You've often encountered small shrines in your travels, piles of stones, wreckage, fragments of former lives arranged with intention. They might be memorials, offerings, even traps for unwary travelers, luring them to a hungry god desperate for a scrap of worship. Along this stretch of lonely road, you notice more of them than usual. Now here we're going to do a sort of group paint the scene. Well, they're always group, but this one's a little more guided. We're going to talk about one of these shrines. And so we begin with just the look of the shrine. This is all out of character stuff. Gabriel, what materials have been arranged on this particular roadside shrine and why?
It looks like the pieces of a shed or almost a disassembled pallet, just old splintered, weathered planks of wood.
Love that. Chaotic. Does it appear to have been interacted with recently?
I think it has, as though there has been little snacks almost have been left behind, bits of food. None of it's rotten, so it has been left here recently.
David, how does the landscape respond to the presence of this shrine on the road?
I think it's there off the side, and none of the ground around it has been cleared or anything like that. I think it was just built atop it. Yet, despite that, all of the plants within 5 or 10 yards of it all seem wilted and like completely drained of life.
Finally, Moss, what kind of god is this shrine invoking, and do we know its name?
Yeah, so this is a shrine. It's sort of a covert shrine for smugglers, who are carrying illicit cargo back and forth, and it is its name isn't known. Its name is whispered among those who participate in this trade, but those who don't have no idea.
Intriguing. So it's all kind of a ruse in a way.
Yeah, it's like passing itself off as like a general shrine of travelers, but there's some signs that it's not that legal.
Intriguing. Now, we have a special rule here for our 2 custodians who are at this shrine. If you choose to interact with this shrine by leaving an offering, examining it for clues, or destroying it, you get to make the revelation move. On a hit, you encounter a clue in the form of an omen, unusual reactions in the environment, a divine manifestation, a sign left by other worshippers, or something else. So that's a thing that's available. And when we get back to this scene, Theo and Bastion, I would like for one of you to recall a time. What small act of worship did you perform in a place no one else could see that will trigger the journey move for you both? Let's actually give me 1 second. Let's now switch over to the other journey scene, which is the dig. And this is for Mercer and Sybil. A construction site is visible by the side of the road, along with the usual traffic cones and safety vests bearing the mark of the watchful step. Preparations are underway for some kind of dig or foundation work. We have one prompt here, but every time we revisit the dig, there's more. But to start, we're going to paint the scene. Everyone answers, what seemingly excessive precautions have been taken during the setup of the dig site?
There's 3 layers of do not trespass construction tape surrounding the dig. It's a little bit excessive.
There's like an official there to make sure everything is compliant, and then there's another official to make sure that that official is compliant.
Out of plastic sheeting and PVC pipes, I think a on-site clean room has been built around the dig itself.
I think there's those LED signs for vehicles on the road that just say like warning, possible miracle contamination area.
Sybil and Mercer, when we get back to your scene, I would like for one of you to recall a time. What early memory? No, I'm sorry, that's wrong. What event uprooted your life as you know it? So, Bastion and Theo, to trigger the journey move, you do have to, one of you has to share some personal history or relationship to divinity, preferably inspired by my recall a time prompt. And you get to clear a condition if you do. You both do, in fact, if you have an appropriate condition. And if you're the one whose past is not being discussed, you also get some little bonuses. So let's just have the scene.
Yeah, so
It's
the event.
It's Theo and Bastion. Sorry.
Sorry,
Okay.
I thought it was.
Yeah. I think Theo is sort of walking along like the shrines, just taking a general look, not too close, because like you don't know if like there's any wayward aggressive gods, I think would be a word for it, because a fed god is a happy god, but you don't know with this many shrines, you don't know which ones are getting fed or not, or even if they're still there. But I think
Bastion's walking alongside Theo, boots clicking on the hard ground.
I wonder why they chose this place. amongst so many, just building up more and more.
I think Bastian looks to Theo and then back to the road. Well, it's certainly a public place. I'm sure they see a lot of travelers leaving gifts and trinkets to their god. Perhaps it was the attention that they were seeking.
Maybe.
I think Bastian will actually root around in his pocket for a minute and then walk over to the front of the shrine. There's, as was mentioned, a series of small like bits of snacks or food stuff. But I think Bastian notes that none of those, like all of them are still there. And I think he would expect something to have happened to them if this was an offering that the god had accepted. And so he places on there instead a small stack of coins, whatever he had on him, and closes his eyes briefly above it before depositing it there. Never hurts to pay the local tolls.
Mm-hmm.
Is that interacting with the shrine?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm into it. You can make the revelation move, and we'll continue the scene a bit. But the revelation move is, what are you afraid is going to happen if your offering is rejected here, or if just I don't know, bad things occur?
I think Bastion's worried if the offering is not accepted, then that this god will demand some kind of retribution, like they'll be insulted, basically.
I think it's worse than that. I think you just have completely misunderstood the purpose of the shrine, and one of the smugglers that we talked about out of character will confront you.
Right.
If you wish to continue, roll communion.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And
I've only got a -1 to communion. What could go wrong?
Well, and yeah, okay, yeah. You know what though?
Yeah,
You haven't cleared your threat condition yet either.
I sure haven't.
So I would like for you to roll it at disadvantage as well.
Yeah, all right. Oh, I'm gonna miss not having that 6. That's now a 6 total. -1, 5.
Okay. So you are, well, let's keep the scene going. I'll interrupt it when I'm ready.
Yeah. Bastion will turn to Theo. Have you attended many shrines like these in the past?
Observe them, pay them respects, not give it sacrifices unless I'm certain about what god lives there.
He smiles a bit. Oh, back in my youth, I think I had a sense of invulnerability. I was so eager to experience what a god's influence could bring to my life that, well, I didn't pay too much attention to the gods I was attracting the attention of.
Mm.
There was a shrine much like this one off on the edge of the town that I lived in. Somebody had set up in the woods. It was lush and verdant, though. Vines creeping all across it, strange things growing out of it. But I would frequent it, and I would pray to that god in the hopes that some of that life that it could influence me.
I suppose it has, in its own way. What better sacrifice than a person's own time?
At this point,
At fear, in our line of work, there's I fear in our line of work, there's only so much of that to give.
You can always give more. I know.
So at this point, Bastion, do you think you can make the case for clearing one of your conditions here?
That's what I was angling for.
Which one?
I think I'm going to go with a threat. I think twisted ankle and scorched flesh. I can still limp a bit and be a bit burned.
Sure. Yeah.
I can handle that later.
Yeah, right, exactly. And Theo, because it's not your past that got talked about, you get the other part of the move, which says you can either stumble on a clue, you tell me what it is and how you come across it. The clue cannot conclusively answer a question by itself, or you can invite the other character to ask you a question about your past. You must answer truthfully, but not necessarily completely. Which do you want to do?
Bastion, give me a question, please.
Very good. Think about your question. Let's go back to Mercer and Sybil. So Mercer and Sybil, you're kind of just nearby this construction site, this dig site, taking a break on the road. Let's have the scene.
What do you think they're building out here?
Building or removing. They seem to be quite worked up about whatever it is. Kind of makes you wonder if it's something that was there or if they're just planting something.
Yeah. Well, everything decays anyways, so.
It's just things take a different turn when that decay happens on its own, or when well, look at all these signs, look at all this. It can't be anything good or natural. It's just going to be something that feeds on someone else that just makes it worse for the rest of us, right?
Yeah.
You ever see a house just ripped up out of its foundations? That's what I'm thinking here. I wonder what used to be here.
Well, there's woods stretching out behind here. And yeah, I think it might have been like a house or a cabin or something from the kind of stuff they're taking out.
Someone in the way of their progress here, I suppose. One of my neighbors once, word got out that they were smuggling something, I guess, and instead of digging up the floorboards, they just ripped the entire house up from the riverbank.
Oh wow.
They filled it in with garbage to pollute the river, and that was only the start for the rest of us who lived along the bank. So it's an awful thing to be ripped out like that. I can only think of.
Yeah, I mean, when they caught me, they were going to try and destroy everything I was by sacrificing me to some other god, and you know, I regret this, but I did give them information on the other disciples. But the thing about the disciples of the waxen scrivener, or most of them anyways, they're just all caught up in researching and studying and writing things down, and they don't and just arguing and bickering all the time, and they don't have that true experience with the god. And so I don't think I was truly destroying the faith of the waxen scrivener, but I do feel kind of bad about it.
It's between you and your own gods, and there's something more honest, I think, about what you what you listen to when you're on the road by yourself, what you get to speak to. No one else can take that from you. And I can tell you've managed to hold your own, whatever you're doing with those books. You wouldn't have got here without some purpose, without something keeping you alive.
Right, yeah. And I'm sure the same goes for you.
I feel like you've both done a good job recalling a time. And so I'm just going to give Mercer the bonus option. Do you want to stumble on a clue or invite Sybil to ask you a question about the past?
Yeah, ask me a question. That's fun.
Think about your question,
Yeah,
Sybil.
so
Or unless you know it now. Go ahead.
yeah, so when were you called to faith with the trawler man?
Nice. Think on that.
Yep.
We'll go to the other group. You got your question, Bastion?
Yeah. You know, Theo, you seem to have given an awful lot for others, for your God over the years. Is there anything you regret giving?
That's an interesting question. What can I regret giving when it was not mine in the first place? I have always been destined to go upon this path, to be a servant to the Pox Martyr, to follow others where they may lead, to observe, to witness, and to take on other people's burdens. My life is not my own. So I don't have regrets, because I am doing what I'm meant to be. I'm just sad that it wasn't a good enough sacrifice.
Yeah. I think Bastion nods and looks away and like hides his face from Theo because his eyes knit together in a little bit of jealousy, I think, at that sensation that Theo has, that dedication. But he clears that away before looking back.
I think at this point, someone comes out of I think there's like a little ditch near the roadside shrine, and they have been watching you, it seems. And they come up and they walk right up to this little, arrangement of wood and offerings, and they like lift the wood part up and just throw it off, revealing almost like a footlocker beneath, right? They just lift it off and they're like, and it's empty. And they're like, where is it? What happened? Where did they go? What did you do?
I did nothing.
I was just being polite.
I saw you over here, to you, Bastion. I saw you messing with this shrine. You took it. Where did it go? And he like begins like grabbing you, like trying to like pat you down. What do you do?
Could I try to get in between Bastion and this dude?
Of course. What do you do?
I think I'm just like, now let's calm down. Maybe it's been a big misunderstanding. Could you please tell me what is missing, so maybe it can be replaced or what have you? Because sometimes gods can be a little bit fickle. So maybe we did something by accident, but we will what's the word? We will atone for what we have done.
Let's do the veiled move. What do you afraid is going to happen if you fail or lose your nerve?
I think this guy is just going to ignore me, like, and just like keep on going for Bastion.
Yeah, that's probably true. Let's take a look at your conditions. I'm not going to make any of them apply. Well,
I don't
you're
I don't
ill.
think hold on. Physical conditions do not cause me to roll with disadvantage.
Very good. So you're okay then. So I do want you to roll with presence, however.
Yeah. Yes. I don't really have anything. Yeah, that's not too bad. That's a 7.
I think he so you're going to succeed. Let's read it. The keeper will tell you how your actions will leave you vulnerable, and you can choose to back down or go through with it. If you go through with it, the keeper describes what it looks like. I think what's going to happen, the way you're going to be vulnerable is essentially because you've gotten in his way and because he's a little fired up right now. I think he's going to like slug you in the arm and leave like a massive bruise on your upper arm. If you're okay with that, you can keep going.
I'm okay with that.
So yeah, he's like, he's like, get out of my way. And he just like pops you in the arm. But then he realizes he's kind of overreacted. And he's like, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
This guy looks like he hasn't slept in a couple of days. His clothes look
Mhm.
really dirty. He smells like he hasn't taken a bath in a couple of days. He says, I just, I think it's best if the two of you move on.
Mhm.
There's no God being worshipped here.
Mhm. It still seems that you are struggling with something. Could you at least tell me about it? Like maybe I can offer some advice.
Oh,
Or
good.
I
Are you
can
trying to
give you
trigger your
something.
move?
I'm trying to trigger my move.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I'm into that. Let me take a look at your move so I can help you out here. Oh, give a side character.
It could have triggered twice, but I'm not sure because like I did put myself in harm's way.
Oh, that's true. You did. Yeah. Oh, I will. I'll give you that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And also, you're kind of assisting a side character in a task without accepting payment. He'll say, listen. And I think he kind of like pulls you aside and he says, I recognize your markings. I know that you're a pox monk. I'm not sure what you're doing traveling around with a follower of the Saint Electric, but there's a group of us. We are a nascent resistance, say. I need you to get that follower of the Saint Electric out of here now.
Yeah, that's no problem. We are traveling away.
Okay, good. And then he says, all right, sorry, there's just some confusion here. I didn't mean to interrupt the two of you. You enjoy the rest of your travels wherever you're going.
Yeah. Come on, Bastion. Let's go.
Too. As Bastion like turns slowly to head with Theo, he'll lean over. What was that all about?
Some gods aren't welcome in certain places as others are.
So at this point, because you did let it pass unto me twice, I think the way you clear conditions is through this move. And so, yeah, you can clear 2 conditions. What are you going to clear?
I am going to clear I'll clear ill and mouth sore.
Okay.
I think all things decay is still too interesting to remove quite yet.
Don't forget you have the arm, the punched arm as well.
Yeah.
Very good. That was a great scene. Let's go back to Mercer and Sybil.
I've met other people there's those of us who say they're called, but really when you think about it, you just find yourself in the middle of these things, don't you? I mean, all I know is I grew up along the river. I played along the river, and my family had their songs. Everyone I knew had their ways of giving to the river so that it would let us live there. And that was a normal thing. But it was when I saw what the authorities came to do, how they rooted us out, what they accused us of and the punishment they brought, those of us just living our lives, and what I could tell, it was that persecution that brought us together. And I found myself not so much called to the faith as the faith had gripped a hold of me. And I had many siblings. I had a family along the river, and I'm the last one now. And I'm out here looking for other false faiths, I guess. So
Yeah. Well, I understand what it's like to be persecuted by those who don't understand your faith.
some of them we'll see. You know, there's times when that's all we have left is to share those revelations that were brought to us. And
Yes.
I'm not sure what I believe. Some of my family paid for their beliefs, and they had grander visions of what the river would bring and the vengeance it would bring to land. And I don't see the point of that either, really. But all I know is the river spoke to me. I still hear the river, and like it or not, it's a part of me. Can't really take
Right.
something out of you that's a part of you anymore, can you?
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Do you yeah, I
Sorry.
was gonna, for fun, you're always carrying books. I just want to give Sybil the almanac, or at least open that up. Like maybe I don't know if the others would understand this, but I would be curious to hear your thoughts if you get a chance to read this after our encounters with the things of the land. Yeah, just tell me your thoughts. I don't have the time to read this. It's gonna pass you the almanac.
Okay. Yeah, I'll hold on to it. Should I like add it to my altar or just like
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
okay.
That's great. I think that will conclude the journey phase for both groups. I think for the other group, even though you didn't get a hit on the special rule to interact with the shrine, I like how the scene played out. And so I am going to give you a clue for the floating market. And that clue is that there is some sort of nascent resistance building up in this region. Some resistance to authority, perhaps the military, perhaps to some bureaucracy, who knows. But you can note that as a clue on the floating market assignment, whoever wants to note that. And let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break. We'll come back and do the investigation. Bastion and Theo. The rural town of Weft. I think it's like sundown as you are getting close to Weft. By the time you get there, it'll probably be full on twilight or close to it. At one point, you come across a pickup truck heading in the opposite direction, trailing thick exhaust. You look inside briefly to see that both driver and passenger are wearing sunglasses, despite the fact it's getting dark out. At one point, you pick up a spotty radio signal. A preacher from the Bone Tree Chapels giving a sermon honoring the elk of Birch and Bone and how there's them that lead and them that chase. when you arrive in Weft. You see a main street full of potholes and weeds, storefronts with cracked windows and faded signs, abandoned cars with flat tires, a rusty bike chained to a tilting signpost, distant sounds of a sputtering generator hammering, a lone dog barking. There's not much going on in Weft. Let's paint the scene, everyone. By all appearances, this town is dying out. How can you tell that some residents still care for it fiercely?
I think there are like a number of potholes there in the road, but all of them have been filled with gravel and small rocks to make it still passable. And there's signs of that rough and tumble sort of maintenance anywhere you look.
There's like posters for a community council meeting, which meets once a month and is very passionate.
Despite sort of the wear and tear on multiple things, the electric poles that remain fairly decently upkept, like the wood may be starting to rot and what have you, and that there's like multiple like staples in it, but like in terms of paper, only like the more recent like newsletters and wanted posters are up on there.
One of the storefronts has like a dog water bowl. That everything else, there's like puddles, there's weeds, but this has like actually been kept clean and changed. So at least there's someone who comes by and wants to make sure that the dogs have water.
I love it. So let me give you a quick tour of the place, Bastion and Theo, a tour based mostly off what you know about this assignment. So we do have the Hopworth Industries meat processing plant. That's the incident that got the Bureau's attention. Basically, they say there's something that's been like, what they say, some large predator's been raiding their compound at night. So that's a thing to look into. You also have the Clutching Woods, which abuts Skeleton Ranch. And there's also an abandoned lumber mill in town. It was probably the main source of revenue before the meat processing plant was built, or the main source of work. And then there's just, you can kind of just generally bop around the town, I suppose, though there isn't much around here. So what do you want to do, Bastion?
I think Bastion's kind of keen on the ranch, the Skeleton Ranch.
Yeah, I have a tendency to go there as well.
Sounds good. We'll come back to this in a moment. The floating market. Gathering at abandoned docks and fishing piers along the White Gull River. Mercer and Sybil, you both arrive. It's fully nighttime by the time you get there. And this floating market, just so we're perfectly clear, it's essentially like a series of barges connected by little bridges and walkways, you know? And so you sort of kind of walk among the boats that way. But despite the sort of awkward method of traversal, there is a brisk business going on. You see a number of businesses, which we can talk about in a bit, but also a number of customers and a lot of haggling going on. Indeed, one of the first things you see is one of the nearest barges. There is very intense bout of haggling going on between vendor and customer over a lumpy, oozing sack. I'm not sure how else to describe it, but there's something definitely going on there. But there are also little reminders of kind of what you're here to do. You're here to figure out which illegal product is presenting a major danger. At one point, you hear shouts of alarm as a bound package hisses, cracks, emitting strange light before being hurled into the water, followed by the sounds of violent churning and gurgling in the water and steam rising up from it. There are definitely things here that are not meant to be purchased on store shelves, right? So, Mercer, what's your first move here?
Kind of nod to Sybil and say, oh, shall we kind of just take a stroll, meet back up, see what we see?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
I think Mercer will kind of just stroll along, just at a glance, see if any of these boats would be obviously like fishing boats, just kind of look for an easy in with his background, what he's familiar with.
I think the first place you see, we'll just say it's the first thing you kind of like come upon that looks like it's doing some business, is a business with a sign out front calling itself Speedy Supplications. You learn pretty quickly that it's an antique newspaper stall mounted on an old shipping barge, crammed with mass-produced miracle cards, prayers and invocations from countless obscure faiths and near-forgotten gods. A sign cautions customers to speak softly, if at all, to avoid invoking any of the cards accidentally. We have a paint the scene here. One miracle card catches your eye in particular. This is just for Mercer. What god does it invoke, and what blessing does it promise to bring into your life?
It's a birthday card, and it has like an image of someone, bursting out of this cake, and it just says like, you're only, on the inside or on the outside, whatever. You're only as old as you feel, and today, let's celebrate a new you. So it promises like some kind of transformation.
I love it. And Sybil, I think the first place you see is Revel Among Ruins, Inspired Gifts for All Occasions. Now, this is one of the more colorful, well-lit vendors. It is in fact a garish carnival booth perched on a dilapidated tugboat. Grinning painted mouths encircle twin window stalls, though one is boarded up. A handwritten list of wares is nailed to the outer wall. Items include a range of gifts for children and adults alike, such as hallowed toy soldiers, collectible saint cards, Jolly Crunch tooth treats, saintly spark kits, a My First Ritual knife set, confessor costumes, prayer mark tracing books, Dreamweaver lollipops, a portable Madam Light radio lantern, forgotten idols packaged with a child-size hammer for smashing, and various mass-produced plastic icons of licensed deities. Everyone, paint the scene. What makes us suspect that this shop is a vendor for illicit goods?
There's like I can spot like a drawer or like some boxes that are like covered up kind of suspiciously, and I think they might have some illicit goods in there.
A lot of the spelling on like these product placements effectively is spelled wrong. It's just like a couple letters off, and like you wouldn't normally do this. So like this is like just obviously counterfeit toys.
In a darker corner of the shop, there's a large door that has a small sign above it that says more stock in the back. And the door has a series of rune marks along it and the heaviest padlock you've ever seen.
I was going to go with something similar, that boarded up door. Sometimes customers will see you go up and knock on it and then not hear anything and kind of walk away. But then a minute later, some other employee will kind of meet up with them elsewhere and have a conversation.
Yeah, good. We'll come back to this. Let's go back over to Weft. I think you have to cross through the Clutching Woods before you get to Skelton Ranch. The Clutching Woods are narrowing tunnels of sickly briars and fallen branches, buckling footbridges dragged down by strangling roots, patches of oil-slick bogs skewered by sun-starved trees. Everyone, the land here is horribly polluted, but not truly dead. What menacing features make you most concerned? for your safety.
I think the knots in the trees all look like eyes, and Bastion is unconvinced that they aren't.
Whatever we're stepping through, it's not mud. It's wet and gross, but it's not mud.
You hear what sounds like a horrifying human scream, and then you realize it's the bird.
There are little planks in places, like temporary foot bridges, but they always seem to be leading further into the more tangled and dark parts of the wood. They're like a trap.
I love it. Yeah. I think as you're both going through the clutching woods, you see a hunter up ahead. Watchful eyes, camo jacket and overalls, a gray ponytail. He seems to be just sort of packing up his equipment for the day. It is late. Bastion, what do you do?
I think Bastion will wave a hand and call out, "Hey there, friend.
He says,
How's the hunt going?"
he's like, hello there. Well, it's going, I suppose. And he looks around and you can see he hasn't caught anything today, or he hasn't killed anything today.
Bastion will like broadly look around. What's the game in these woods?
He says, well, don't let this place, look, I'm mostly just out here to move my bones around. I ain't seen a deer around here in months. I ain't seen much of anything, tell the truth.
Is there
I'm
a time
Ridley.
the deer started going away?
He introduces himself. I'm Ridley Hemsworth.
I'm Bastion Ward. This here's my pal Theo.
Good to meet you. Clutching Woods isn't the kind of place that people just wander into at the start of nightfall. What brings you out here?
Well, we're actually heading in further. There is this ranch a ways away, but we're hoping to make it there by nightfall. So
I assume you're talking about the skeletons.
Mm-hmm.
One and the same.
They aren't exactly the most friendly people in the day. I'm not sure you're going to have any better luck with them. In fact, I suspect you're going to have worse luck with them by night. They're a very reclusive bunch.
Is there anything that might pique their interest or garner their attention?
Do the information move with presence.
Okay. Do I have anything I want to use on this? Nah, that's all right. Hey, that's really good. That's an 11.
11.
Ooh.
All right. Remind myself on a 10 plus, or on a hit, you find a clue, and yeah, okay, great. So he says, let me take a look at my clue list. He says, well, they're a weird bunch. They haven't left that ranch in, quite a long time. They don't even come into town for supplies. I suppose you could bring them something from town, or some kind of supplies, maybe doing a wellness check on them or something like that. They might be inclined to listen. He says, but they're sort of odd. And he He
A
kind of like
wellness check is. Go ahead.
Yeah. He kind of acts like he doesn't want to like say something, but then he does. He says, well, one thing is they have gone through an incredible amount of trouble to block out the sun from Skeleton Ranch. They've blacked out all the windows. They've covered everything they can with shade and tarps. It's weird behavior. So I don't know, maybe nighttime is the best time to go see them. But that's your clue. This attempt to block out the sun. Theo, what are you doing while Bastion's kind of chatting with Ridley?
Well, I think because like Bastion like has Ridley's entire attention, like I'm taking a look at just around the area because like dude's been hunting here, but however, like no prey, like the
Well, he
there
kind of
has to
said
be
that he does it
something.
just for exercise now. So
Yeah. But even like not being able to see bigger animals, maybe that could be a hint to see how the land is. Like,
yeah,
is the land ill?
I'm into that. Make the information move, and I would say with insight.
Mhm. Okay. That is a 9.
A 9. Let me take a look. So you're taking a look around, and I'll give you your clue straight away. You actually see on some of the trees deep gouges and claw marks, kind of high up, territorial signs of a large predator. That's your clue. The complication comes from much further to the ground, or much closer to the ground, which is you feel a little tickle around your ankle. Just a little tickling. And when you look down, you see some fungal tendrils, some whip-like mushrooms gently curving around your ankle and lower calf. There is some sort of god here, not your god that you're investigating. This is some other god. And I want the revelation move. Do tell me, unless you want to bump this up.
I'm fine with going forward.
So the revelation move, what are you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve right now?
I'm afraid that this fungal god will attach to me.
I think it's worse than that. It's going to not just attach to you, it's going to completely, it's going to zombify you.
Oh no.
So do go ahead and roll with focus for now.
Okay.
Yeah, focus.
Okay. Yeah, I really don't have anything to like deal with non-people. Need to get more items. Or just start handing out stuff. That's another 9.
I'm going to give you a condition. I think Ridley sees what's happening and says, hold on right there. Don't move. I'll take care of this. He pulls out his hunting knife and he says, now, listen closely to me, writhes beneath the loam. I do not make this cut out of any sense of disrespect. Indeed, I am merely offering you the opportunity to spread further by splitting you in two. And he goes and cuts the fungal tendrils and then unwraps them. They writhe around on the ground. And he says, "You have just encountered writhes beneath the loam, small fungal god that resides in this area. It's taken a liking to you, it seems. I'd be careful of mushrooms and spores. And that's the condition I'm giving you, Theo, marked by writhes beneath the loam." I'll write that up for you. Let's cut back over to Mercer and Sybil. Mercer, you're at this vendor, Speedy Supplications, and I think you see a couple of people there. There is a person there with platinum blonde hair, and they actually have, or the hair has almost like a eerie glow to it, and they're wearing a vest plastered in small pockets, each containing an envelope. And then you also see somebody who seems like they work here. It's unclear. They're at least positioned like they're there to be interacted with by customers, I guess. They're wearing a lace veil, white cotton archivist gloves, and earmuffs, and they're sitting cross-legged in the center of the stall, reaching fluidly in all directions with... They have 4 arms with 6 fingers on each arm, retrieving cards for various customers. This one customer in particular that I've described with the glowing hair. What do you do, Mercer? Or no, it's Mercer at this one. Yeah.
Oh, hello. Nice. It's quite a stall you've got here. It's got to be difficult keeping all of that in place on the river. You know, the river falls, the river rises.
This person with multiple 4 arms and kind of in this veil and these pristine white gloves, who's grabbing stationery and cards and dealing with people, actually says nothing, but just makes like a gesture with their hands at you. And this other person with the platinum blonde hair says, "Oh, they are offering you a universal symbol of harmony and understanding. This is a very, very good sign. You should feel most blessed by that."
Very kind. I was wondering. I've heard there's a lot of just such variety along this market, and I'm not really looking for a greeting card. I was just wondering if you might have something a bit more. Let's just say I want to send some really bad news to someone. I actually want the opposite. Do you have like a card that could really like ruin someone's day?
Oh.
It's just
I can see what you want. What you really want, I think, is to be heard. That's what you're doing. You're lashing out because you want someone to notice you. Well, I'm noticing you right now. My name is Cinerus Gleason. I want you to know that even though I can't imagine what you could possibly be going through that would make you want to do such a thing to someone, your experience is nevertheless entirely valid. I'm sure there's a prayer here for you. In fact, that prayer has probably been waiting for this very moment for you to arrive. Close your eyes. And the sort of cross-legged person like beckons you to close your eyes. Do you close your eyes?
Mercer will close his eyes barely.
they sort of like start making this harmonizing hum together. And a couple of the other people who are there shopping, who are also must be regulars, they begin to hum as well. And before you know it, you're just surrounded by this sort of prayerful humming, getting no closer to figuring out what's going on here necessarily. Though I do
I have an
think,
idea.
yeah, what is your
Yeah,
idea?
go.
No, go ahead.
Just to, I don't know, get a reaction and see if there's really something dangerous here. I do have the mouth returning as a condition now.
Mm.
So I think I would like to basically let that happen and spew forth some water and some item and see how they react, as if, you know, they thought that could happen, or if they're surprised. Like, act like it's part of this miracle happening.
I love it. It's really good. We'll come back to this scene. Let's check in with Sybil. So Sybil, I've described this almost like carnival-like vendor, Revel Among Ruins, this little carnival booth on a tugboat with all these kiddie things, but we think is maybe a front for something worse going on. There is a salesman, though, who's there. You have identified him already as Kaz Happy Feet Jr., a salesman, jaunty cap with 2 feathers, absurd mustache, garish tropical pattern shirt. Very, very cheerful, almost maniacally so. What do you do?
So I'm gonna just go and well, first off, I'm gonna go and observe all the products. I'm gonna take very careful notes about them. And then I'm gonna go and but I'm gonna try and do that like a little bit covertly. Is it a busy store?
Yeah, there's a lot of people around.
Okay.
You can make the information move with, I would say with probably, if you're trying to do it covertly, I'd say with focus.
Okay, sure. Dice. And that is a 9
9.
total.
I'll give you your clue in a bit, but I think the complication is Kaz Happy Feet Jr. is going to approach you and probably be a pest or a nuisance the remainder of your time here, unless you want to write a verse and avoid this.
I mean, no, I actually do kind of want to talk to him.
He comes up to you and he says, "Why so glum, chum? It can't be as bad as all that."
I fuck with this guy.
How so?
Oh no, like out of
Oh,
character.
got it. Okay, yeah. He says, "I believe I've got just the thing to cheer you up. Let's turn that frown upside down, eh? Unless you prefer it that way. I've also got a book of sad jokes, some bitter candies, gloom-tinted glasses. Don't let anyone tell you how to feel. Am I right?"
I'm gonna kind of squint at him and be like, yeah, sure, I'll take a look at your product.
And he says, "Here." And he takes and he says, "I've got these temporary tattoos." And he licks one. And he's like, "Hold out your hand."
I don't know. Yeah, sure. Why not?
And says, "There we are." And he's rubbing your hand. Let's just let that adhere nicely. Very good. Almost done. Ah, busy night, huh?
Yeah. You got a really cool shop here.
Thank you. What were you writing down in your little book?
Well, I was just, I was trying to look for a gift for my nephew, so I just wanted to, see what you got and be able to compare notes with the kind of things that he likes.
There we go. And he peels off the tattoo finally. Now, this tattoo is going to show in tattoo form your true innermost desire. Sybil, what does the tattoo show?
Um. Uh. Oh God. What is It's gonna show a woman's face, just a person.
I'm going to give you a condition to memorialize this called the face.
Okay.
And while this is all going on, you did find a clue. The clue that you find you notice that this shop has a very extensive waiver form to be signed before any purchases are complete. It has been copied and recopied enough times to be barely legible. Additionally,
Okay.
he says, now, I'm not sure what we're supposed to interpret from this. The meaning of the tattoo is entirely for you to discern.
Okay. By the way, I've already like grabbed my hand away, like as soon as that happened.
Sure. And he says, I do think, though, that you might be very interested in a very special product we sell here. Would you like to come round back and see it?
Sure, yeah. Also, am I able to like grab a copy of the waiver form just
Sure.
like
Yeah.
for my own?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can grab
okay,
it.
cool.
Yeah. Follow me. Come along. That's right.
Okay.
Just over here. Very good. No need to be timid. Mercer, we'll come back to you in a bit. Sybil will come back to you in a bit. Theo and Bastion. So Ridley bids you adieu, and you can continue on.
Well, he was a charming fellow. Let's hope the family is much similar. I suppose we are on a bit of a health check, if you
Yeah.
will.
Yes, it's what I assume that why I should come here in the first place, because well, I could help out. Whereas in the that floating marketplace thing, I would be a little bit lost as to how I can help there.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we'll both find a little bit of purpose here. As they head along, I think Bastian is kind of tempted to take, I guess this is becoming a habit for him, but like take a sample of some of the surrounding greenery. I think he can tell that something has like contaminated this area, and I don't know, feels like the right thing to do.
You can do that. If you take the time later to examine it more closely, I might give you the information move.
Okay.
You'll eventually make your way to Skelton Ranch. Withered orchards hemmed in by this towering forest, a collapsed barn, a stagnant pond, various sheds overgrown with vines and full of junk. At the center of it, a two-story lodge of stone and timber. You notice right away all these attempts to block out the sun, which Ridley mentioned. Let's paint the scene. The Skeltons have clearly left their farm to rot, but somehow managed to survive on the land. What surprising elements of the property have they maintained with care?
I think out front there is like a series of just garden beds, and you have like little like pansies and flowers just growing out of there.
I think there's a water, like a rainwater collection system that's like on the roof of the home. And despite the otherwise sorry state of it all, I think that collection system has been immaculately maintained.
I think under parts of like a collapsed shed where there's shade. There's like a whole mushroom garden. They're cultivating mushrooms as well.
Anything to add, boss?
Sorry, I kind of zoned out for a
That's
sec.
okay. You can. It's all right. We'll keep going. So when you arrive at Skeleton Ranch, you do see someone out in the front. Ridley's right. It seems that maybe they do come out at night. This person has a wild beard, and even in the moonlight, you can see their wide, wilder eyes. They're wearing torn flannel that might have once been orange. What do? They're just kind of putzing around the yard.
Hello, friend.
He looks
Lovely
up.
evening.
He looks up and he gives you a funny look. He says, we don't get outsiders much around here.
Oh, why would that be? It's a lovely place you have here.
You come from outside the woods?
Originally, we did pass through there on the way here.
It's dangerous. Dangerous outside the clutching woods. Better here. Safe in here.
Yeah, it certainly looks that way. Which actually, the sun's headed low, and we left our car back in town. Do you mind if we stay with you for the evening? I'd be happy to pay you for some lodging.
I think this is going to be the veiled move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
I think I'm most worried about overstaying a welcome. I'm trying to be a very polite, if impromptu, guest.
Roll with presence.
That's a 7.
He says, all right, you can stay the night, but you got to pay a fee. You got to make an offering to Mother.
What kind of offerings does Mother prefer? I'm sure we'd be happy to say our greetings.
Teeth.
Oh, that's no problem.
Just one tooth between you should do. 2 for 1 special.
Jason, that's amazing.
So who's it going to be?
Well, it sounds like Theo was offering.
Yeah.
All right. Come on in. And he's
sorry, I've been rude. I didn't make myself known. I'm Bastian Ward.
Don't matter.
Fair enough.
To Mother, we are all just nestlings. I'm brother.
Pleasure meeting you, brother.
Come on inside. Watch this junk out here, which he steps around very nimbly, as if he's done it 100 times. Come inside, meet sister, cousin, baby. And indeed, you go inside. Let's check in with Mercer real briefly, then we'll take a short break. Mercer, we were resolving a roll, yes? What was going on? I can't remember.
It hadn't come to a roll yet. I did want to trigger my move.
Oh, that's right.
So
Yeah. So
don't know if it's a roll. Yeah.
Nah, just describe what happens here.
So I think I don't know. Mercer's It's funny, what actually puts him off the most is this very like aggressively positive new age kind of vibe. He really hates this. But he's like, I need to get some information. And if I let them think that my reaction is part of a miracle, I'm just very curious where that goes. So while they're kind of doing this like ritual thing around me, Mercer, I will double over and actually just vomit a stream of river water. Just comes out of nowhere. It's pretty disgusting. It leaves like silt on the ground, and I would like to find a clue. So there's something that comes out.
Very interesting indeed. Your clue, something that washes up in this, in your backwash, so to speak. Yeah, very interesting. How about this? A message in a bottle bobs
Right.
in the little puddle of river water. I'm not going to say what the message is. You can tell us what it is whenever you get ready to answer a question, but it's your clue.
Cool.
And Cineas, upon you doing that, Cineas Gleason says, "My goodness, that is a message from some god, if I've ever seen one. My word. My shoes are a little wet, but that's okay. That just means I have an excuse to take them off and let my toes sink into the silt and connect with the land, something I probably don't do enough." The assistant, the person who's sitting sit-legged, who you've learned is called Lemon Harmony, they make a motion of agreement. And
This is incredible. This really is, those weren't just words. This is a tangible message. What do I owe you?
and I think Lemon Harmony makes some motions, and Cineas interprets. It's free, friend. In fact, the only payment, if you can even call it a payment, is that Lemon wants you to have a paper angel. Now, these were originally created for hospital patients and children who had taken ill, and Cineris takes up one of these paper angels. It's a densely folded card, pre-stamped with generic well wishes and supplications to a variety of saints and angels. There's different ones, the silver lining, the smiling doctor with the bottomless briefcase, think positive, the thoughts and prayers twins, and so forth. This one is mounted on thick cardstock to prevent the wings from activating until opened. Now, I'm not suggesting that the reason why you can't get these paper angels anymore is because production was halted after it was discovered that several unlicensed deities were included in the represented pantheon, such as the Bleeding Witness, or it could be worse. But you can't throw out the whole bushel just because one apple is spoiled, right? Take a paper angel, think on it, and consider whether you really mean to do harm to people. Reflect.
So I hope that this brings the recipient exactly what they need. Thank you, friend.
Indeed. Indeed. And We'll take a quick 3-minute break, come back and do a couple more scenes. Sybil, Kaz Happy Feet takes you sort of to the rear part of the tugboat, behind, away from the crowd. And he says, "Oh, I think you're going to really love this. Behold, friend, the gently glowing caterpillar with the soothing voice." And he pulls out this doll. You might vaguely remember it. It's a mass-produced worm-shaped doll that glows. It was produced and sold as a friend to comfort you in dark times. It was a worry worm, as they were called, the worry worms. Comforting dolls that soothe your anxieties and gently nibble away your sorrows, Kaz says. And you look like somebody who has some sorrows that need to be nibbled away. Now, mind you, they took these off the market because the worms, they didn't stop nibbling after they were done with your sorrows. It was a bit of a problem. But you know what to keep your eyes out for when you start to feel, undesirable chewing or biting upon your flesh while holding the worry worm. Just gently set it down.
Wow, this is really interesting.
The
I
little
think this
worm
could.
speaks. It says,
Oh,
"Let me chew your cares away."
okay. Wow, this looks really great. I'm gonna, my nephew
I'm not even
actually,
asking for much in exchange, friend.
um, my nephew actually might appreciate this, but I think I might want to talk to him first. But this looks great, and
I want to
I'm gonna get
soothe
out of
you.
there.
I want to soothe you with my teeth.
Okay. I'm gonna just like make my excuses and leave.
He says, "All right then. You come back though. If you start to feel a tightness in your chest or crippling anxiety, you come find my little worry worm here. I'll sell him to you for a good price."
By the way, do we have like money?
I mean, no, we just handle it kind of in the hand wave it a little bit, but he doesn't want money for this stuff.
Okay.
Anyway, he said,
That's very suspicious.
as you're walking away, "Let me devour your sorrows." Where do you go?
I'm actually gonna try and talk to some of the customers. If there's anybody like walking between the boats, I might want to have a chat with them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just want to ask if they've heard any rumors about products sold here. Any maybe negative effects they've had.
Yeah. You can go ahead and just make the information move with presence just to see if what you might learn.
All right. Ooh, ooh, snake eyes.
Snake eyes.
And I have a +0, so. Dude, these guys are gonna be like, "Fed, get the fuck out of here."
You're looking around and you see in the crowd of people the face. The face from your tattoo. Who is this person?
Yeah, so this is actually my professor in university who initiated me into the rites of the waxen scrivener and who ended up becoming herself sacrificed to it.
The
So
face.
I'm yeah.
The face looks up at you and smiles. It is your professor. And then they take a quill dripping with sacred ink and plunge it into their eye. I would like for you to make the revelation move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve right now?
So Sybil is pretty sure this is some sort of illusion, because you know, she's dead. But she's trying to like hold her ground and not like fall for it, but she's scared she's gonna like you know, lunge for her and, you know, try and help her.
It's worse than that. You are being drawn in by a hungry god and you will be devoured. Go ahead and, if you want to continue, go ahead and roll with communion and at disadvantage because of the
Okay.
face.
How does disadvantage work again?
You're going to roll 3 dice and take the 2 lowest.
Okay. That's 6, 1, and 6. So that's gonna be 7, and -1 is 6.
That is a miss. I get to take over. You are drawn to the professor. They should not be here, but here they are. And the professor says, "You have to join me. I've been looking for you everywhere. We have so many things to document and destroy, so many things to discover and to lose. And now I've discovered you anew, and now you will be lost." And as you step forward, they embrace you, and you just feel your skin flaking away like so much old parchment, your muscle tissue flaking away, falling off, sloughing off like a poorly bound leather book cover. Your blood dries up like the gunk at the bottom of a old, unstoppered inkwell, and your bones crumble to dust, unless you wish to write a verse.
Yeah, I'll write a verse.
Indeed.
Let's see. Yeah, I'll do a verse with history.
All right, we'll come back to that in a bit.
Or actually, I think I'll do prophecy. I think it's relevant here.
All right. We'll come back to that in a bit. Bastion and Theo. I don't think it's going to get much better for you guys. You go inside Skelton Ranch, this 2-story lodge, and brother straight away introduces you to sister. Sister has deep, sad eyes, which, if you pay attention long enough, you'll notice never blink. She looks like an overdressed doll. She has a lace shawl poked with dried flowers and feathers, and she's kind of occasionally crooning snatches of song. And as soon as you come in, she pops her eyes open. She's sitting in a rocking chair and she says, "Well, why don't you come in? It must be dreadful out there, you poor thing," to Theo. And then she looks at Bastion. "Well, why don't you come in? It must be dreadful out there, you poor thing. Let's get you warm. Mother will bring dinner soon. Don't worry, you're safe now. Don't worry, you're safe now." Brother says, "We have visitors, sister, and they're willing to make an offering to Mother."
Hey there, sister. You can just call me Buddy.
And she delicately takes your hand, like offers it with a sort of moth-eaten hand with a moth-eaten glove on it. And brother says, "This one here is the one who'll be given the offering to Mother's nest. why don't you go ahead and just kneel down there in front of sister, and we'll take care of that right quick.
Yeah, Theo does so. I'll bring up my new move because like these people are very odd. Are they being influenced at all by Mother
Almost
in any way?
certainly. Almost certainly.
Yeah.
Touched by the angels. Your exposure to countless gods and their angels gives you tangible insight into their effects. Add one to your communion. You've already done that. You can always discern if an illness was caused by a god or, oh yeah, this was absolutely the doing of this angel mother that they call mother. You do get to roll with advantage. It's the first time you act on it. So what do you do?
Yeah, I think like because I'm partially afraid that giving a sacrifice to Mother will wake up Mother even further and could cause some danger. So I'm just trying to prepare for the worst. Just seeing like how Mother has already influenced these people.
It'll be the information move, but
Yeah.
I'll give you a clue and tell you kind of what you discover in regards to your specific question. But you can take an advantage because of your move, and yeah, it's going to be with communion.
Oh man, that is an 11.
11. Very good. Now I will tell you, you could bump it to find a conspiracy clue, or otherwise learn something fundamental about the conspiracy.
Yeah, I think I'm going to bump it.
Which verse do you want to write?
I'm going to do a verse of history.
Very good. I'll give you a clue in a moment. Bastion, while that's happening, you notice that there is someone who's dressed in a sort of trailing, disheveled bundle of robes and sheets, who is leaping between banisters and a large iron chandelier and over to the next banister, almost like a monkey. And brother says, "Oh, don't mind him. That's cousin. He doesn't like to touch the ground."
Any particular reason?
And cousin says, "Intruders! Mother won't like it. Mother will know. Why do you come here?" And he's like atop a big like wardrobe or a big cabinet looking down at you, peering over you. "You should leave before it's completely dark."
Why would we want to leave when we could be graced by your mother's presence?
Brother says, "Cousin, they're going to give the offering." And cousin says, "Oh, you're going to give the offering. Well, that changes everything, doesn't it? There's nothing to be worried about now." And then he leaps over to like a railing on the stairs. "I'll just go back up to my room. It's not like I am a direct prophet of Mother's wishes and desires."
Are there any each of them seems to have like their own thing going on. Is there anything in common between them?
Oh, that's good. Yeah, make the information move with insight. Let me take a look at your conditions, though. No, you're okay.
Well, that's really good. 2 5s on the dice. That's a 10 plus 1, 11.
Very good. I owe you a clue as well. Before I give you your clue, though, a grown-ass person wearing a cloth diaper crawls into the room. They are crawling about, nest of dirty blonde hair that barely obscures a toothy maw. They crawl in and they just look up at you and go, "Baby." Brother goes, "That's baby."
I
We'll
think
cut away from there for a
Bastian-
moment.
Yeah, go ahead.
And check in with Mercer. Mercer, where did we leave you? Oh, you're done with.
I got the paper
You
angel.
got a paper angel. Yeah. You can't add
Mhm.
it to your personal altar yet, but you can.
Mhm.
It can function as a further information move if you want to like examine it more closely, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I was curious. While I'm here, I do want to try to connect with the community. It's one of my little triggers. I want to just like see who else is at this market, what they're buying. If there's like river folk, might be able to kind of bond with them a little bit.
Oh yeah, if you're kind of looking for a specific kind of people or place, I'm into that. Let me take a look. How about this? There is a gardener here. Introduces himself as Hob. He's wearing clunky boots covered in dirt. Trundles along with wildly swinging arms and nose to the ground in search of something worth planting in his, as he calls it, his angel pit. It's like, you never know what you're going to find, even out here on the water. He's kind of sniffing around the banks of the river, which is something that is at least tangentially connected to your people in a way. What do you do?
Kind of match pace with him and say, to be honest, you're looking in the right place. Who knows what people are bringing in from elsewhere? The river brings wonders to those who look. You never know what's going to come on the tide. In fact, I've been carrying something with me. You say you're a gardener.
Oh yes, yeah. You know, I like to see things grow. Everything takes its own time. Some plants grow faster than others, of course. Gods, they grow slow, real slow. Well, some of them seem to pop out of nowhere, I guess. Those are usually the bad ones. I like to stick by the river, though. The river it has a constancy, a dependability, if you know what I mean.
I grew up further upstream, but I absolutely know what you mean. I have a bit of an experiment. If you maybe you promise to kind of keep this between us. What do you think of this? I'm not sure how it's going to grow, but I want to show him my jar of the little crab angels with a piece of hungering roots that I just threw in there.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what it's doing, but I want to see where that gets me.
Are you trying to trigger a specific move or just answer an end of session question? Like what are you looking for here?
I do want to answer the question, but I want to, I don't know, maybe information move, see what else he might have.
Do you refer to the crabs as angels when you show them him? Or show him them?
Sure. If it's just us alone, I don't feel as vulnerable.
He says,
I'll take a risk. Yep.
Angels? Are you a follower of the trawler man, friend?
Mercer carefully just says, I am a child of the water. I do come from that faith.
Yeah, I understand you being careful about it, outlawed faith and all that. I myself, I've been a friend to river people from time to time. I certainly have no qualms with their beliefs. He says, "What are you doing out here at the floating market?"
Just seeing what's washed up on shore. Really, I heard there's rumors of something more dangerous, and I don't know. I like to be aware of my surroundings. If there's anything I should tell my friends and family about,
Make the information move with presence. And if that's an item that you can mark that you showed him, you can certainly take advantage.
Yeah, I'll do that. So marking it, it can't be used for advantage in the future, but it's still narratively around.
Oh yeah, you always have it.
Yeah.
Until you get rid of it, it's just
sounds good.
You just get the mechanical bonus now.
Yeah. Okay, that is 10.
Nice. He says, "Well, first of all," and he undoes the jar. "Do you mind?"
Oh,
And he undoes the jar and he says, "Now, this is an interesting little specimen you have here. I gather this is what's at least a piece of, if not an entire seedling of the verdant mother. Do I have it right?"
yeah, it used to be at least. It's already showing some changes, so I'm not sure where it's really how it's growing, but I think that's where it comes from.
Well, I mean, we can help it along a little bit, or at least make it more satisfying for your angels, as you call them. And he takes a little bit of like he goes into his pocket and he has like this little bit of like fluid in a jar, and he kind of pours it in there, and he kind of like sets the cutting in there, and he says, "There we go. If this thing is going to grow any at all, it'll grow a little better now, and your angels will, well, I'm sure they will enjoy communing with it in their way." And he
It's very
seals
kind
the
of
jar
you.
back up. Says, "As for dangerous products being sold on the floating market, oh, don't you doubt it. It is definitely true. Definitely true. In fact, I have heard stories about certain things that can be found here. A certain worm, we'll say, that wants to, well, it wants to expand and replicate itself. It's all they can do to keep it placated."
Does not
That's all I can
sound like
say.
something. Hmm. That's very useful. It saves me some time. I won't go to that toy shop. Um,
He's like, "Well, I don't know what kind of worm. I just heard it's a worm. It could be something they use to fish for angels on the river."
Possibilities. Well, my thanks for helping my little garden experiment along. I'm Mercer, by the way, and
Hmm.
I do find my way up and down the river. If you ever need anything, let me know.
Yeah, my name's Hob once again, and I'm happy to have made your acquaintance. And but that's your clue. A worm that wants to expand and replicate. I do want to check in with Sybil. Sybil, you wrote a verse of prophecy, the whispered psalm. Are you ready to narrate a flashback to when you were initiated into the faith? What did you have to write as part of your initiation, and where did you have to write it?
Yeah, so I was in university and I was working under I was working closely with a professor named Marge Levitt as my tutor, and I was having difficulty choosing a thesis topic, and she lent me a book, and as I read it, my skin started to flake off. Um, but I could see that, I was horrified, but I could see that there was renewal under that. And the next time I saw her, she noticed, and she told me that I had been chosen by the waxen scrivener. So um, I made my writings upon the skin that had peeled off.
I love it. So your roll now is instead a 7 instead of a miss. And I'm going to tell you that instead what happens is you still see this image of your professor. They still jam this quill into their eye. And I'm going to give you a condition because you feel a teardrop rolling down your cheek, but it's ink. And I'm going to give you the condition. Um, Something like that. Tears of ink.
Okay.
But otherwise, when you look back up, they're gone.
All right.
What do you do then?
Um, So I'm kind of like a little bit off track from the assignment. I'm gonna try and look for some books or letters that are being sold or anything that I can you know use as worship for my God, because I'm just thinking about her now, and I'm thinking like what would she want me to do? And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Um, I'll give you some ideas here. Let's see here. Um, yeah, I I think probably your best bet. You do find, I mean, there's lots of like little shops that are not, that we don't go into a huge amount of detail, but
Mhm.
you're able to spend the rest of the evening rummaging around through stands selling books and things to find things. It'll be enough to trigger your end of session question, if nothing else. But I will tell you, as you are doing this, I think you run into a customer who's there. He looks a little out of place. He has a rain damp jacket and muddy trousers. He's clutching a grocery bag and a dog-eared copy of Ignathian Peninsula, a guidebook. He says, "Well, I heard there were some unique shops to be found off the beaten path, but I don't think this is what the guidebook had in mind. I It's not very convenient trying to balance between barges. Much easier to just walk into a store or a shopping mall. I'm not sure why anybody would want to shop this way. It's crazy."
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're hoping that some people will fall in and be consumed by the river.
I, yeah, that's sorry that I I'm not accustomed to provincial humor. And he he says, I'm Richard Ward. And he goes to shake your
Oh,
hand.
yeah, I shake his hand. Nice to meet you, Richard.
You are,
I'm Sybil.
oh, Sybil, what a nice name. An auspicious sounding name. Um, Terrific. Well, this is this is really something, isn't it, Sybil? All of
Oh,
this.
yeah. Are you looking for anything in particular here?
Well, and he kind of holds up his guidebook, and he's like, "Well, I this hasn't been much use, if I'm being perfectly honest. I'm not really entirely, completely, at all sure what I'm looking for. Uh, actually, um, there is something you might be able to help me with. I
What's that?
was I was driving out here, and I stopped to, um, well, sometimes you have to stop unexpectedly because nature calls. And I saw a bunch of red lights there from a signal tower, perhaps. They were blinking in a very, very complex sequence. This was several nights ago, and I've seen them every night since. And I've been doing my best trying to figure out what this sequence of flashing red lights could possibly be. Am I becoming obsessed? Possibly. Am I am I a believer in coincidence and good fortune? Maybe. Who isn't? And I couldn't help but notice you come off of that tugboat over there, that little toy vendor or whatever that is. And, well, one of the lights over there is blinking. And blinking lights. I just put two and two together, looking for omens and signs, and saw you coming around, and I thought maybe you've seen these red lights as well? Or you might know something about them?
No, I haven't. But did you happen to copy down the pattern they were in?
Yes, I actually did. And here he opens up the guidebook and a bunch of like sheets of paper fall out. And
This is my kind of guy.
he's written down like all these like hash marks, various hours and like times and like night and like what the pattern was. He says, it's just I'm like a dog that picks up a scent, I can't let it go. I have to get to the quarry, as it were.
But when I look at the light, does it appear to be blinking in some sort of pattern?
I don't think so, necessarily. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But
sure.
This whole thing, though, is a conspiracy clue. Running into this man, his red blinking lights. He says, I'm sorry to have bothered you. This was I don't mean to be a bother. I'm just going to go back and, well, maybe keep your eyes open for the blinking lights. And here's my contact information if you learn something. And I'm going to give you a condition, the blinking lights.
Okay. Really speed running a bunch of conditions here.
He says, it was so good to talk to you, Sybil. Very auspicious name.
Indeed.
Much more interesting than Richard.
Yeah. I'm actually gonna try and take down the pattern that is like the blinking pattern of the light on that boat in my notebook.
You absolutely can. And we'll come back. Let's have one more scene at the Skeltons. Sister says, all right then. Come over here. Kneel down in front of me. And I'll go ahead and take the offering from you.
Theo kneels down, opens his mouth, prepared for the worst.
There. Good. And she takes out a little tiny like a little hammer, and she begins tapping on your teeth. All right then. Oh. She listens. Brother, I think I found it. Baby! There we are. And up above, you haven't found it. You don't know what mother likes. Not like me. But no one ever listens to cousin. Never listen to cousin. He's only interacted with mother at least half a dozen times. And sister says, all right then. And she begins like petting you on the cheek. And she takes out a big set of pliers. And she says, I don't think this is going to hurt too much. And she goes in with the pliers, and she just rips and pulls. I'm going to give you a condition, your extracted tooth condition. As she's ripping and pulling out the tooth, Bastion, baby, looks up at you and smiles, revealing an incredibly gap-toothed smile. Baby. And we'll end the session there. End of session. Do we have any well, there's a procedure here. Let me just follow it. Play structure. Okay, no assignment was resolved yet, so we don't collect rewards. We do end of session questions, however. You have not completed an assignment, so nobody gets that first one. However, Sybil, did you engage with a god, angel, or other divine manifestation? I would say so. especially
Yeah.
with that whatever happened to you with your professor. Did you undermine the orders of your superiors or use the assignment to pursue personal interests? Yes, you did. Did you go out of your way to connect with the local community?
I'm not sure. I mean, I was exploring the stalls, but that kind of, I don't know if that's
That's
going
just
out of my
that's
way.
just your job, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Theo, did you engage with a god, angel, or other divine manifestation? Oh, the rise beneath the loam, right? Theo.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
And did you go out of your way to connect with the local community?
Um, like I let the skeletons take the two
Oh, your
from
tooth. Oh,
me,
yeah.
so
I'll count you. That counts. Were you vulnerable with someone?
I think so, because of the journey
The
move.
journey move, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Bastion, did you engage with a god, angel, or other divine manifestation?
I was thinking like making an offering at the shrine as an attempt to.
Oh, I'll
although
take
there was
it.
the
Yeah,
claim
that's
that there was no bounty there.
I'll take it. Did you struggle with your personal faith?
Yeah, Bastian was like comparing their relationship with their faith to Theo's and feeling about that.
Mm-hmm. Were you vulnerable with someone? Probably in the same scene, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mercer, did you engage with a god, angel, or other divine manifestation?
If we count, the miracle moment, spewing up something.
Oh, yeah, I'll take it.
That's just my ability, though. Either way.
No, I think it's fine. Were you vulnerable with someone?
Yeah, I think so. In the journey move, the outlawed faiths.
Mm-hmm. And you specifically did go out of your way to connect with the local communities. So you can take those, or take that one as well. Let's keep going here. Do we have any moves that are resolved at the end of the session? Or do we otherwise have any verse prompts that remain unresolved?
I do.
All right, you want to do it now?
Yep. When Theo commented that you always have time to give, Theo's running on a lot of borrowed time. He was never meant to survive being born, essentially. It was his mother was sobbing, crying. There was just wailing in the room, begging for any god to help at all. His father was trying to find someone to give a sacrifice to whatever god, whatever is necessary. The silver lining, the smiling doctor, think positive, the thoughts of the prayers, bleeding witness. It could have been worse. None would answer. But the reason why Theo is so attached to the pox martyr in particular was it was just random luck that day. A pox martyr was traveling through town and decided to take on the burden of what happened to Theo. A strangled neck, gasping air. And the first words that Theo heard, but doesn't remember. You are wanted so much. And that is my verse of history.
Fantastic, thank you. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go ahead and do stars and wishes. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
Jason, you have just so creepy NPCs. I love them so much.
I didn't write any of them, so I did portray them.
Yeah, I just like just the sort of like how you portray them, like the way you voice them out, and just the weird mouth noises, just like sound effects is just always so creepy, and I love it. We really went out there in terms of like investigating things in very different directions. Like Ashley and I are like, oh, let's go into the middle of the woods, but like Sybil and Mercer are going into like sort of a very busy place, and it's just I find like the contrast between the scenes very interesting. We've learned a little bit more about the characters, about like their sacrifices for their faith, and like I in very interesting ways, Sybil with her uh professor, and Mercer like just like interacting with people, knowing that he has like an outlaw god. Bastion is just like just dealing with people and just like, hey, how's it going, and just being the general friendly face to like everybody. And it's just like, just so many good scenes this session.
I really love the family that Theo and I have encountered here. I don't know what I was expecting going into this threat, but it wasn't this. And so Star, just for the surprise as all of that unfolded and the general like unease and unpleasantness with it, I think is truly delightful. Another Star as well. I think I've just loved every scene at the market, every character we've met, every like situation that's unfolded. I feel like that thread is just like loaded up. That assignment is just loaded up with interesting little bits and bobs to pull from and lean on, and I think that's very, very cool too. I'm really enjoying the ping ponging we're doing between these two locations.
Yeah, definitely stars for the floating market. I love the floating market. I think it's also cool to like be able to explore a character's backstory. I liked the thing with the professor, and yeah, I mean, I don't really have any particular wishes. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, big stars to the NPC portrayal as well. I had a lot of fun just seeing how weird I could write them, but then seeing them brought to life and made weirder in different ways is just absolutely delightful. I really like seeing the journey move. Again, the talk about it, the discussion from the design side was very helpful, but just getting those character moments was really great too. Like after our last session, doing some pretty like having some more like action scenes to have that introspective character connection again was really, really nice. And I think wishes another star just in general to, as always, going into danger. All of us just saying bye Sybil was hilarious. Like going around the corner of the creepy toy shop, going into the woods, all of that. Wishes, because we're doing only I think 3 more sessions, I would love to try to write more verses. I forget sometimes that we can just do that to bump it up. So kind of just going all out if we feel like it. It's just fun to see the drama and get more story from it. So.
Yeah, I had a really good time. I was having a lot of time portraying these characters. I love these 2 assignments. They're great. I mean, the Withering Roots was really fun too, but there's something about the way these 2 contrast with each other that is really, really enjoyable. I love weird ass family in a remote place, like remote decaying town. That's like my favorite thing to do. So the skeletons were a lot of fun. And the floating market was fun. There, like David said, there's so much there. Like it is dense with like detail, and it's really fun just to read. Like it's a lesson in the setting all its own. Really, really enjoyable. And yeah, everyone did a great job today. I thought sharing. I mean, the journey phase was great. Once we kind of figured out how it has to go, it was really, really enjoyable, and I can see really clearly like its purpose in the game. And so we got to really learn about these characters in an interesting way, and we got to see them pair off and like really have like some interesting interactions with each other. And I can tell it's the kind of thing that like gets easier. It's definitely going to be one of those things where like the more you do it, like the more you learn about your character, the more settled into it you get. But even right away, it was really enjoyable. All the paint the scene answers were great, and I thought I thought it's really interesting because even though we've only done 3 sessions, I feel like we are getting so much lore and world building going on, and that's partially the nature of the game and the setting, and kind of how CFB works. But it's also, I think, the way you're all playing your characters and sort of bringing certain details out to life, and so it all just feels really good. I feel like we're getting just a ton of story. I really, really love that. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this a lot, and there will be a 3rd assignment next week, so I'll be excited to go look through them and see which one we're going to introduce, and then pick it up. So yeah, are there any other things?
Only wish I was going to add is advancements wise, I just picked up brand recognition, which is a move that I think I've already kind of been living by, and I didn't realize was a move for the playbook. So
Okay.
well, I guess I hope to explore some of that next session or in the future.
I love it. Well, then before we go, I do owe a conspiracy clue at Skeleton Ranch, and I'm going to give that to you now. After Bastion and Theo have gone to sleep in their accommodations at Skeleton Ranch, after the household has settled down, we see Cousin climbing stairs, banisters, never touching the ground, leaping from place to place, all the way up to the attic. He crawls up into the attic, and there's a young girl in the attic. She comes out of the shadows into the moonlight coming through the window and says, "Are they safe?" And Cousin says, "I think so. I didn't get the impression they're from the Institute. You should be okay up here. We'll just wait for them to pass on and go about their business. Just stay quiet. And don't you worry. I'm not going to let the Institute find you." And she nods and lays back down and goes back to sleep. And that will conclude our session. I will see you all next week.